Have you ever asked yourself the question, what am I to think of transgender people and transgenderism? I want to step aside from the topic of this video for just a second. Many of you will look at this video and this provocative topic and say, well, that's just an old liberal spouting the old liberal story about LGBTQ+. Others will say, that is an old conservative spouting the old conservative story about LGBTQ+. I want you to know that you should be talking about this. Stephen Miller, the Deputy Chief of Staff to the President of the United States, who has his ear on many topics, is discussing transgenderism. And you should be too. That is part of the responsibility of governing ourselves for as long as we're allowed to. Let me move on. As I have researched this topic, one conclusion I have drawn is that it is very complex. It's not easy to compress the conversation into a neat, tidy little video. So it will take us about 3 videos to consider just this first question. What am I to think of transgender people and transgenderism? Now, as I first considered addressing this topic, I personally found it useful to remember the wisdom of previous generations and hearken back to a saying attributed to Roman Emperor and Stoic Marcus Aurelius. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. This wisdom tells me not to consider the topic of transgenders or transgenders themselves as vexing, but rather it is how to talk about transgenderism and what to understand about transgenders that is so vexing. This ancient saying helps me to depersonalize the topic, and I hope be more impartial. I have been thinking about this topic and this video for the past year, and my intent is to be impartial. I have come up with 2 bottom line conclusions that express how I plan to structure the discussion of this topic. First, transgenders and transgenderism. These words describe people whose self-perceived gender identity differs from their assigned biological gender or biological sex at birth. We are going to take 3 videos to discuss just this conclusion. And then second, transition and transitioning. Some transgender people choose to transition, which may involve social changes like name and pronoun changes, structural changes like which bathroom they wish to use, which sports teams they wish to join, and how they dress. And then medical interventions, such as hormone therapy or surgery or both. I'm not sure how many videos we will need to discuss this second conclusion yet. I want to say up front, if you are watching this video and are already convinced you are transgender, or you are among the many people who already have made a decision regarding transgenders and transgenderism, nothing I say will change your mind, nor is it intended to change your mind or anyone's mind. This is not a debate. I am telling you what I think, what I have concluded. There are no winners and no losers. I think it's worth watching anyways. In simplest terms, I believe transgenderism and the underlying dysphoria that appears to trigger it simply are. They are part of the human condition today. I will make no assumptions about either past or future eras or peoples. Transitions are simply a path some are choosing for dealing with their dysphoria, their transgenderism. Here's what I know from science literature about biological gender identity. Biological gender determination in humans begins at fertilization, when an egg, which always carries X chromosomes, is fertilized by a sperm, which can carry either X or Y chromosomes. The resulting preponderant combination, XX or XY, largely determines the genetic sex of the embryo. XX embryos typically develop as female, while XY embryos typically develop as male. Research tells us there are uncommon instances of variations to the XX and XY pattern. Uncommon. That is a statistical term, being 2 to 3 instances out of 1,000. Statistically, these 2 or 3 in 1,000 variations are common enough to be considered as statistically contributing to the spectrum of human characteristics. These chromosomal patterns, XX and XY, and these uncommon variations are fixed at fertilization. Nothing changes them or can change them. We will continue from here on our next video. Aloha.